Why is my horror game still a prototype after almost 7 years? Hi there! For those who don't know me, I am Gael. I am an indie developer currently working on a survival horror game called Silent Corruption. I started working on this game back in 2017, but back then, my lack of skills and time made it difficult to work on it consistently. However, early this year, I finally returned to working on it. I've put countless of hours researching how to do a truly great horror experience and learning how to craft an amazing story with characters the player genuinely cares about. And in this video, I'm going to show you everything I've done so far. I talk about this in more detail in my other video about the challenges of solo game development, and you can go and watch it here after this one. But here is a quick overview of my journey so far. Back in 2018, I took a job as a cabin crew for Ryanair, and that helped me move here to the UK. For the next few years, I bounced between jobs because of health reasons. And this period in my life was quite difficult, so I couldn't properly focus on making my game the way I wanted. But I never really completely stopped working on game development, and I was doing it on the side. Fast forward to earlier this year, I was finally in a position where I was stable enough to properly focus on working on my game. So I decided to come back to this first game idea that got me into game development, and I've been working on it ever since. The game has gone through a lot of changes, as you can imagine. For example, at first it was called Parasites, and then I changed the name to The Lark because I thought it went better with the theme of the game. But finally I settled on the current name, which is Silent Corruption. The setting also shifted a lot. Initially it was going to be set in Russia, but eventually I decided that setting it in the UK was going to be a lot easier to get references since I live here. Also, I've rewritten the game design document, the mechanic, the story, and all that so much. There's been so many iterations. But you know what? I'm happy that I spent so much time working on this and changing it so much, because now I think all these changes and all these discarded ideas have helped a lot to shape the game into what it is now. I've also worked a lot in the main character, which is Jane. She's gone through a few different looks. I did the first version back in August in 2021. Fun fact, she was actually called Sasha back then, but I never really finished that version. Then from December 2022 to April 2023, I worked on a second version of Jane, but this time I was doing it while I was enrolled on an online game art school. And this time I was doing Jane as a piece for my portfolio and not so much thinking about making it for my game. And finally on June of this year, I revised Jane and I started a new version from scratch. And even though the current version is okay, I'm not like super happy with how the design is now, because I rushed her a bit too much to have something ready for the prototype. I know, for example, the textures still need a lot of work. So after I finish the prototype, I'll probably go back and I'll revise the character and probably mix it with some of the elements of the previous version, because I think the previous version had more personality and it was closer to what I originally envisioned for her. So the prototype of this game has had its fair share of stars and stuff. As I said, in January this year when I finally decided to go back to Unity, but as I got deeper into it, I realized how big this project was gonna be. And as an indie developer, you hear over and over that your first game should be something short and manageable. So then I thought maybe I should make something smaller first to get the ball rolling. So I came up with a spin-off idea for a shorter game, also set in the Silent Corruption universe. I worked on that for about a month, but honestly I just wasn't motivated. It just didn't click with me. I was just thinking that I really wanted to go back to my original game idea. So I decided that, you know what, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. And I went back to my original game. Then around April, I started to feel the effects of burnout because I had some health issues that caught up with me and I needed to take a break to recharge. So I took some time off from game development and focused on my well-being. And after 2 months or so in June, I was ready to come back to working on my game. And at this time, Unity was doing some weird stuff and lost a lot of trust from the community. So I decided to switch engines to Unreal, and I worked in Unreal for a bit and I did quite a few things. But I was really struggling with Unreal. It definitely wasn't going very well. So a few months after, in September, I was just like, why am I fighting with Unreal? You know, because as a solo developer, I need to focus on my strengths, on what I know. I have limited time, so I can't spend forever learning how to do everything from scratch. So I decided to go back to Unity. And luckily by then, Unity have listened to the community backlash and reversed these shady practices and policies, which work out perfectly for me. So I switched back to Unity, I start fresh, and now I'm finally working on the prototype. And so far I'm really happy. Right now, I'm focusing on completing the prototype, and my goal is to finish it by February next year. This prototype is crucial because it lays the foundation of the whole game. I'm concentrating on the core elements, you know, the coding, the main mechanic, and testing out all my ideas. For this phase, I'm keeping everything as simple as possible and just doing the bare minimum because, you know, that is already a lot of work. And once the prototype is done, I'm going to focus on doing a vertical slice, which is also known as a demo. And in this demo, I want to focus more on building the actual game experience, you know, the atmosphere, the visuals, the graphics, and polish more the gameplay. And with this demo, I hope to attract attention from future players and maybe get some funding. So yeah, it's still a long way to go, but I'm optimistic and hopefully you'll have something you can play soon. If you want to know more about the challenges that I faced so far in my journey as a solo game developer, you can watch this next video where I go into more detail about it. See you there!